Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Sharice, and this is Spirit Soul Sense, information for your soul. I think it's important to acknowledge that half of the things we see on love and hip hop probably are not real. I am going to be giving my review, my feedback based on what we see on the screen and pointing out when things don't make sense. I want to start with, I think, one of the most prominent storylines on the season of Kirk, Rashida, and Jasmine, right? The baby's mother. And I think the conflict that's happening has a lot to do with what people view their roles as. So from Kirk's perception, he has the idea that a father is somebody who provides and protects his children. In his idea, providing and protecting is done with money. So according to him, he is doing fatherhood well. And maybe Rashida has also bought into this idea of fatherhood and what it means to be a good husband, because she sounds like she co-signs, you get money, what are you complaining about? Whereas Jasmine is coming from the perspective of, sir, you're the one who decided to impregnate me, although she's the one who kept it, right? You're the one who decided to have a child with me, and your responsibilities extend to more than just giving money. Now, Jasmine might have this perspective because I'm 35 years old. I also have the perspective that money is important, but in addition to that, I also want somebody who is responsible and kind and supportive in more ways than just finances. Like at a birthday party, I expect the parent to show up, and I don't just expect the mom to have all these responsibilities put on her to be physically present, mentally present, but that the father is also present in those situations. I understood what Rashida was saying about you're not going to have everything the way you want it, right? And so maybe we have separate birthday parties, and at the birthday party you throw, I don't show up. Maybe that's part of the agreement. But it sounds like there's also an agreement for Kirk to have the baby every third weekend of the month, and that's not happening either. When we know that bonding time and spending actual time with your child is super important for building connection in the long term. The Child Protective Services call is one of those situations that things stop making sense to me. So it makes sense that Child Protective Services would call because your child is chronically late to school, right? I've had clients where their mother was going to be arrested because the kids were so truant to school. These were like 10, 12-year-olds. The kids were not going to school. That makes sense. Them doing an investigation and finding nothing, there's no follow-up needed, okay. But then also bringing it up on the show to show that Jasmine is an incompetent mother, or that there's areas of concern here, for me, feels like a red flag that maybe we need to be involved more in the day-to-day of this child. But all those conclusions don't sum up to Rashida and Kirk taking a more active role in the child. That doesn't make sense to me. I think because I'm from the Caribbean, I have a different idea of how families work. I think a lot of people from the country, the more rural parts of the United States have a similar framework of a collectivistic society, and that teamwork makes the dream work, and multi-generational homes are more of a thing. Because why this little baby being late to school without more intervention from dad, that's strange to me. But Rashida does get to decide what kind of stepmother she wants to be. And if she wants to be more hands-off or not advocate for him to spend more time, but once he's there in their present, she's very loving and caring, I think that's fair too. Let's move on to Carly Red, who has one of the wildest storylines. She really, really wants to be married again, because apparently she was married before. I think she might be one of those women who views herself as being validated and worthy enough once she's married to a man, because she's already been in relationships. Their sequence, their replaying of all the time she's been engaged to. And why has she been engaged so many times on the show? Like, the proposal happens on the show and she does the same fainting. She's shocked and in disbelief, but those relationships don't seem to end. The fact that she is so worried about whether this man is going to be loyal, whether he's going to actually be loving to her, tells me there's a lot of relationship trauma that she has not dealt with that maybe would be a good idea to deal with outside of a relationship. I do think people learn infinitely more in a relationship than without, but when this pattern continues, when you do literally the same thing man after man after man, it's not really the man, right? It's you creating these situations for yourself. I think when that keeps happening and you're not actually growing or learning, that it's a good time to pause and take a step back from relationships and figure out like, what in you do you need to grow and love on more in order to attract the love of your life, like somebody that you don't have to worry about having your friends having access to them because he may or may not be tempted into a relationship or sex with another woman. Yes, it was absolutely wild for Carly to be upset that Bambi was planning a birthday event for her behind the scenes and having a conversation with her boyfriend, fiance. That is a trauma response from Carly, that she has been so hurt by women and so hurt by the men who said that they loved her that she trusts no one. Really, she doesn't trust herself to pick somebody who's actually going to be there for her. And I think all of that is legitimate. My advice to Carly would be to, girl, take a break. Girl, take a break. Go love on yourself and just let these men rest. Like, they will be there. Like, it's never too late to find love. There are people in their 70s right now getting together and enjoying a peaceful, easy, fulfilling love. The argument she ended up having with Bambi in episode 4 was also one of those, while it didn't have to be this way. But when you're dealing with is it everybody on the show? When you're dealing with women who are very emotionally reactive, quick to anger, have not processed their traumas, then this is what you get when you put them in certain situations. When you think about yourself, if you had to be in a room with somebody you didn't like or somebody you felt betrayed by, it probably wouldn't go well. You all would probably leave before anything exploded. But if you stay long enough in these situations, that's the natural outcome, that there's going to be a confrontation. And if people have a really, really hard time with emotional regulation, we're going to throw things down. We're going to shout. There will be no peaceful conversation about how you hurt me, how I hurt you, and what is our resolution. It will just be no resolution because I'm so mad. Oh my God, I'm so mad. You did this to me. Anyway, let's move on to Bambi and T.O. One of those things that doesn't really make sense, because similar to Carly with the what's the name of these guys? The Carly Red's guy and her look awkward together. They don't look like people who are in love. Bambi and the T.O. guy also don't look like there's any real connection. And then when Bambi said in episode 4, he hasn't even touched me. I haven't, right? Because when the girl, we'll get into that. But when Amy was trying to shade Bambi about dating somebody she used to date 10 years ago, the dish she used prompted Bambi to say, well, we haven't even been physical. I don't know. How long have y'all been dating long enough to bring him on the show, to bring him on your friends, but haven't gotten physical? She's not a virgin. I doubt she's being celibate. So is there any real connection? The fact that this guy mumbles to talk and he's also unattractive in his presence and demeanor, I don't think it's a real dating experience for her. I think it's for the show. I think it's for the show, and I don't even understand the point of it. Because did you go, this is why I get down these rabbit holes of like, what's real, what's not real. Is this part of your storyline for this season to aid conflict? Is Amy really mad at you for dating him? Or does it just happen to be somebody she used to date and she's really upset about something that happened when she was 22, 20, like one of those weird things. But moving on. I understand that Amy is saying it's not the guy, it's the fact that it's a secret. I agree with girl code. There's no way I'm going to be dating a man that one of my close friends used to date, even if it was 10 years ago. I feel like for myself, I don't even know how I would get turned on, like the idea that one of my friends was with this guy. But different strokes for different folks. The fact that Bambi didn't tell her about it, I guess I would be concerned with it. This is my friend. It's kind of weird that you didn't tell me. But then to attack her based on my history with the guy also seems weird. But again, these are people who have really poor emotional regulation, do not have really good assertive communication skills. So to communicate with her that, hey, I am happy for you to be dating somebody, but I was just hurt that, you didn't let me know and he let me know, just made me feel like I wanted to question our friendship. They don't know how to have these conversations. I hope you are learning how not to communicate from them by watching this show. But that could have been an easy resolution. She could have, Bobby could have apologized. It's given the opportunity to understand how much it hurt Amy to not know what wasn't a secret, but to not be given a heads up that this is a person I used to date. Moving on to Saucy Santana. I used to live in Miami, so I have an affinity for people from Miami. So I enjoy Saucy Santana. He's one of my favorite people to look at on the show. Him, and I enjoy Chaotic too. Chaotic might be kind of messy, but I was wondering if this is just the people who are not in relationships that kind of give a calmer demeanor about themselves on the show. This is my first season in a long time watching Love and Hip Hop, so I don't know all the history with Chaotic, but he seems so Atlanta, and I live in Atlanta, so that's enjoyable too. But Saucy Santana has his ex-boyfriend on the show, or two ex-boyfriends on the show. Make it make sense. Zell, Saucy Santana don't see it for each other, but somehow Zell would like to be friends with Saucy Santana, which I understand. Saucy Santana is a fun time. But Saucy Santana used to date this one guy who tattooed his name on him, but also said, "I don't trust you." Okay, that's very toxic, very codependent. They've been doing this back and forth for almost 9 years, they said, and the hope for the guy, Devon, is for it to end in marriage. Listen, as a person who's been in a toxic, abusive relationship, I understand the allure, right? I don't think there's any abuse with Saucy Santana, but there's definitely codependence. I understand the allure of, this is a person I've known so long. They understand me in a way that nobody else will. There is a level of friendship foundation underneath. So we like a lot of the same things. We have a lot of things in common. We can talk for hours and hours and hours and feel good when things are good. But when things are not good, when Saucy Santana is ready to move on to the next guy or be entertained by something else provided by someone else, and you know you want monogamy, at some point you have to say, I need to let this go. Like, I have to move on. I have to do something different. It's a trap. It's an emotional trap, but you understand the theme of this show is a lot of emotional immaturity among the people on it. So at some point, maybe Devon will understand that Saucy Santana doesn't really want to be with him, like for real, long-term exclusive. Or maybe he won't. There are lots of people who go through their whole life. I know people in their 60s and 70s who are doing the same thing they were doing when they were 15, 25, 35. They're doing the same thing, the same toxic cycle, and never giving themselves the opportunity to be loved well when they're holding on so tightly to somebody that's not good for them. But good luck to Devon. A quick word on Saucy Santana and his mom accepting him for being gay, but also Saucy Santana is very flamboyant and feminine in his presentation, which for a lot of people in the church is a double whammy, because you're not just gay, but you also are effeminate. I think her resolution to accepting him is a beautiful thing. Another one of those highly produced moments, I think, was her reading his trauma story out loud, because she had like one sentence in there about how it made her feel, and most of it was Saucy Santana's story. I am definitely a person who doesn't tell other people's stories for them. There are times when I tell stories here on my channel where I allude to a loss or an event, but because that is another person's traumatic event, I am not sharing all the details of it because it's not for me to tell. And maybe if I write a book, I would be more transparent about some things, but it's not just the book. It's that particular passage. It's the timing of her coming while Devon was there cooking dinner. It's Saucy Santana looking like he wasn't aware that this was something that was going to be shared. That makes it feel like the real mixed with the fake. Like this was something a producer idea when they realized that this was a part of Saucy Santana's story that we should get on camera. Disturbing in a way, but the consequences were not significantly negative. I think it's important to talk about assault, sexual assault on TV, and to be a living example of how even though what happened to you was horrible and the person should be punished, that it's not your fault and you are allowed to thrive and live a beautiful life later on. So, it's like I don't think she should have shared that. I think she should have had a conversation on camera with Saucy Santana about reading that before just reading it, because the tears looked real. Like, Saucy Santana really looked like he was affected by the memory of his traumatic story. But I don't know, they gave you resources on screen. They're making TV. I mean, I get it. I think there were other ways to do it in a more tactful way that prioritized Saucy Santana's emotional well-being. But this is TV and producers who don't have degrees like me, so they're probably just as emotionally immature as the cast. Let's talk about Scrappy, Mama D, and Erica. I think it was wonderful that Mama D was explaining y'all should not go into business. I loved the way that she said it, that she said it directly, and that she said it in a way that wasn't like y'all are stupid for doing this or y'all are not thinking ahead. I love the way she said it. The fact that they don't want to listen to this woman is wild. I remember the facts. It's all the facts for me. Why is Erica interested in Scrappy? That part I don't understand. Erica is so beautiful. And honestly, she seems to have a little bit more emotional maturity than a lot of them. I don't understand why she's with Scrappy. She reminds me of the stereotype of baby mamas who go back all the time, back and forth to their baby daddies, that there's always some intermingling relationship with the two of them. Really, it's just codependence. But I don't understand why she's with Scrappy. I feel like she could, not that Scrappy is bad, but that their history is so painful, that he married Bambi, that all of that seems so messy. I don't understand why I would be interested in this guy. And then when she was at Mama D's motherhood dinner, brunch, whatever it was, saying that it's in Scrappy's court, like she's waiting on Scrappy to make the decision. There's no way. I don't care who the man is. There's no way. Okay. So I don't understand why she's with Scrappy. I do think she should move on and up to better things, or to somebody who hasn't traumatized her so much in the past. But that's what she wants to do. I definitely agree with Mama D. She should not go into business with them. Her being so bothered by Mama D's tasting for her food truck, girl, just move on. She's already told you she does not want to go into business with y'all. Why are you so bothered? Talking about the family. Okay. Wasn't Scrappy the one who messed up the whole family? I don't know. I don't get it. It's one of those things that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I also don't get Mama D trying to get back at Rashida for talking badly about Scrappy. Now, please let me know. Did something bad happen to Scrappy because of Rashida gossiping about him? Or is Mama D just trying to get back at her for gossiping? Because don't they all gossip? I don't understand what the big deal is. This very much sounds like one of those let's make a storyline thing. Like, okay, so what are you going to talk about this season? I don't know. Let me do something about Rashida because last year she said something about Scrappy. That would make sense. No, it doesn't make any sense. Mama D has more interesting things going on in, like, her personality is quite engaging. I enjoy Ghetto Fabulous. So her on TV just by herself is interesting. I don't think we needed a made up storyline to keep her relevant. I don't know. But maybe it's not made up. Maybe she's really bothered by this. I know she could be quite ignorant about certain things in defense of her son, but something about it doesn't make sense about why she would invite Jasmine to the Mother's Day event to get information about Kirk and Rashida to then use against them, or just to know. How's she gonna use this against them? That Kirk wants to sleep with her? Is that news to anybody? Are you surprised by this? I'm not surprised by this. If he does, then and what? Okay, now we know that he wants to have sex with his, child's mother. And we care. Is Rashida going to leave him, or is she just going to be embarrassed and that will be enough for Mama D? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. We didn't get much screen time with Yandy, but they did mention, I guess, their old storyline with Yandy, Mendices, and the donor egg. I think it's weird that Yandy, at her big age, was giving an egg. I would expect that there would be chromosomal issues with it, because after 35, this is not me, this is a doctor, this is a geriatric pregnancy, and a lot of the eggs around age 40 are broken, cracked, scrambled. and Yandy is way past 40. I think she's almost 50. I'm gonna be exaggerating, but she's way past 40. So why would anybody want, I don't know. It seemed, why were they, this is a last season story, right? Of Mendices not wanting to have a kid walking around there related to his other kids that's not being raised by them. Understandable. The fact that she would give him, okay, none of that even matters. They didn't really get into Yandy because she's just coming on now. I love to see Spice because I'm a Caribbean gal and Spice is real. Spice don't belong on the show. Why is she still on here? Spice is amazing. Spice is talented. Spice has won awards. She's real. Why is she on this show? But anyway, she's also in the episodes that have gone on so far been unproblematic. She's focused on, you know, creating an album with real artists because she's a real artist to share with the love and hip hop community. I think that's great. And then last up, we have Sierra and Young Jock. Sierra, people not believing that she was serious about being in the hospital and having a legitimate concern. Like they thought she was, you know, doing a hoax or, you know, playing around trying to get attention. If I was Sierra, I would be more focused on why does everybody think I'm lying than nobody showed up for me. Nobody showed up for me. Okay, but they all thought you were lying, girl. Do I have a history of lying? Do I have a history of manipulating people? Do I have a history of being overly dramatic to get what it is that I want or attention? Those are the questions I would be asking myself if I was Sierra. What am I doing that's causing so many people that I know care about me to not show up for me? That's what I would be. That's what I would be asking. I think it's wild. I also have like a lot of tattoos. I also have a really big side tattoo, not as big as Sierra's. The fact that she did all of that in one day, if she wasn't numb, she physically would not have been able to handle the pain because it's such a large tattoo. The tattoo artist and her agreeing to do all of that in one day was unwise. I'm very glad that she went to the hospital because it is true. I'm not a medical doctor, but she really could have done serious damage to her leg and her whole body by how long she sat for that tattoo. That was not smart. And is Sierra fake? I feel like the questions I'm saying about her answering for herself is kind of a different way of saying that she is fake. I don't know. I was going to say she's very beautiful, but she's also one of those women that I think thought they were ugly and made significant changes to their face to look like a doll or like... Moving on. I think we're going to get more into Young Jock and Kendra's story, which I think is an interesting one. Young Jock, correct me if I'm wrong, has 6, 7, 8, 12 kids. He has like a whole bunch of kids, but he doesn't have any with his wife, who, similar to them, I don't think has an emotional maturity level to communicate with her husband about what her needs are and what it is that she really wants from the relationship and from life. Whenever someone is able to make a certain amount of money, right? She closed 500 million, 50 million, 50 million in closing costs, right? In revenue from her business. She seems like she's very smart. She's also an attorney. All of the things are really impressive. This reminds me of when Amanda Seales was talking about smart woman, dumb girl, that there are lots of accolades you can reach business-wise, success-wise, education-wise, but if you don't understand emotions and how to communicate with other people and the do's and don'ts of a romantic relationship, your personal life will be chaotic, even though on the outside you look well put together. And she looks well put together. She looks smart. Not that smart has a look, but she looks highly intelligent. She looks like she has really good critical thinking skills, problem solving strategies. She looks like that. Like if a lawyer had a look, I think if I picked her, I think I would be like, oh no, that's the lawyer. This woman looks like together. But I also wouldn't be surprised by her personal life because there are so many women who are pretending, who just have not done a good job of figuring out their past traumas and hurts, and they just recreate that in their personal lives, and that's like a tucked away segment of their lives that they may or may not deal with. We'll see what she has to say to Jock. I'm intrigued. I think a lot of women will be able to relate to it, but we'll see. Bless my heart for making it through these episodes and for getting through this review. I must say this was not easy for me, but maybe it'll be easier next week when I just do one episode. Do you have any questions? Are you wondering about these people, my perspective on any of them in particular? They all need therapy, that's true, but it's a show for entertainment, and maybe they don't really want to get better. They just want to be entertaining, which I think that's okay. I think that's okay for people to be how they want to be in the world. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Share this video with somebody you think might care about a psychologist's perspective on love and hip hop, and thank you for watching.